What's up, YouTube? Hey, the AC is kicking hard right now. The AC, dude, we are in the Philippines, dude. It is hotter than 100 hamburgers outside. I'm trying to tell y'all, dude, it is, man, I had to move where the AC at. Last night at 1 o'clock, at night the sun is down, so the heat cools down. It was still heated up, man. I'm talking really heated up. So I moved all my equipment, man. I'm gonna show y'all. I moved all the equipment. I got the keyboard. I got everything. I'm gonna try to put this video. I'm gonna put this video in right here so y'all can see exactly. I got the 2 monitors, I got the laptop, I got the keyboard. I drunk my last little bit of beer from last night. I'm drunk it this morning. That's alcoholics. That's how we do it, baby. Got the keyboard, all the equipment right here in the bedroom. It's in the bedroom, man. So yeah, I'm sitting here as we speak, recording this. Shout out to my patrons. Maybe I should record this for my patrons, but let y'all see the equipment and everything I have in the Philippines. I'm real with this thing, man. I'm real. Uncle Mike is real with this thing. Check it out. I done bought, let's just say a lot. I bought a whole lot of equipment to get this stuff done in the Philippines. But check this out, man. Insiders exposes lies. Matthew Cox. Shout out to Matthew Cox, man. He usually give it to us straight with no chasers, right? So I want to make sure in the lies, racial divide in the Karmelo Anthony's self-defense case. Man, I'm just gonna be honest with y'all, man. I mean, I'm really trying to see it as self-defense. I'm really trying to see this as him doing self-defense. Again, I am really trying to see this as him doing self-defense. But it's hard. I'm still trying to get comfortable too, man. Anyway, y'all hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, man. Let's check this bad boy out. Here we go, man. Here we go. I cannot believe this, man. I cannot believe this.
A divide amongst America is good for business. You got Republican, Democrat, left, right, black, white.
These people have enough problems. You really need a bunch of assholes stirring up those rumors. And then you got assholes like me who immediately believed it.
This one, it hits a little close to home with some similarities. Some people in the comments may say this fella isn't qualified to speak on this topic. I think I'm damn well qualified to speak on it. I had a self-defense claim myself. I was facing 25 years of life in prison due to my circumstances. The case was dismissed and thrown out, which is, I'm sure, the outcome Mr. Karmelo Anthony is hoping for. But as we'll get into this, it's not impossible. But I am a betting man, and he's not looking good. He's not the favorite in Vegas to beat this case, and we'll get into why.
Okay. Well, so first you want to just kind of recap what happened, right?
So this is the landscape here. We've got Karmelo Anthony, 17 years old, from Centennial High School, played football, was a track star, and for whatever reason, everybody wants to make sure that he has a 4.0 GPA. Austin Metcalf, same 17 years old, was a Memorial High School football star, also ran track. Now, not that this is a huge deal, but this is Texas, and these are competitive rival schools. So already with 17-year-old high school football stars, and both of these kids, from what I understand, were standout athletes, you've got a competitive nature just in that, just in and of itself. Texas football is, that's like church. I mean, they don't play about their football down there. If you ever seen the movie Friday Night Lights, that shit's serious. The whole fucking city comes out for these things. So that's that's who they are. And like I said, I bring this up just to go ahead and say there's already a competitive spirit between these teams, between probably these people. I mean, even in my small town here in South Carolina, there's competitive, I guess attitudes, if you will, between rival schools. That's just the nature of the game, I guess we'll say, so to speak. Now, this was at David Kuykendall Stadium. I hope I pronounced that right, in Frisco, Texas. So this was a track meet. Now, from what I understand, and from the best that I've been able to gather here, this was, I don't even think these guys were competing in the track meet. They were just there to support their schools. And it starts to rain. So it's a pretty heavy rain coming down. I read somewhere that a coach told him, hey, go get under the tent, because he was in the bleachers. So he gets his bag and he goes under the opposing team's tent. I don't know if that was on purpose, or I don't know if that was just an accident. If it's raining like hell, you're just going to run for the first tent you see. Either way, he winds up in the opposing team's tent. So what happens there is Austin apparently approaches Karmelo. I don't know to what degree. I don't know how aggressive it was, but in all certain terms, at least from the police reports, it says he tells him he needs to get out. He may have said, get the fuck out. He may, or, whatever. I don't know how he said it, but the intent was, you need to get out of here. And he pushes him. Like, get out. So at this point, and this is key later on, we'll talk about it a little bit later on, but I'm just kind of going through what we know. At this point, Karmelo goes over to his bag that he has and I guess grabs a knife. Now, I don't know if Austin knew he grabbed the knife, but I guess at least seen him go to the bag. And he says, touch me again, you're going to have some problems. Or touch me again, you're going to find out. Something along those lines. And Austin comes up to him again, and Karmelo stabs him right in the heart. He ultimately winds up passing away. His twin brother, I believe, was there, named Hunter. He basically passed away in his arms. Now, Karmelo takes off. He ditches the knife and he runs. At first glance, you could say guilty people don't run, yada, yada, yada. But, I'm going to try my best throughout this whole thing to look at things from both sides. If I go into opposing team's bench and I just stab their star player, I'm probably going to run too, because I'm thinking somebody's going to be chasing my ass. So
a better idea is probably just to grab your shit and leave.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Man, not stabbing would be the best thing. But I mean, after that happened, you got to think there could be some repercussions. So I understand a little bit of why he fled.
Right.
Maybe not so much dropping the knife. That's another layer, but he drops the knife and he's fled. He is apprehended, but when he's apprehended, he immediately admits that, hey, I did this. It wasn't, I'm not the alleged guy. It was me. I stabbed him. And then as they're placing him in the car, he goes, I can claim self-defense for this, right? So he's asking, this is before he's arrested. I don't think he's actually arrested and Mirandized at this point. Before he's arrested, he's asking the cops. So right then and there's a lot of problems with that in and of itself. Number one,
new news to me.
I'm not promoting people to do crime or acts like this, but if you do.
I didn't know he actually asked the police officer, hey, I can claim self-defense on this, right? I can claim that, right? I don't think he said it right then and there. I mean, this is the first time I'm hearing that he actually said it like that. So, but no matter what, he's trying to claim self-defense, period. Here we go.
Don't talk to the cops. Don't say shit. Just don't. He's already opening himself up to, you're asking if you can use self-defense, then how do you know you even did what you did within self-defense?
Right.
So that's a big problem right there, right off the rip. Going forward, there's an issue here with, I think, some GoFundMe money. His family makes I think it's not GoFundMe. It's not GoFundMe. It's like GoSend or something like that. Save, Send, Go or something like that. It's like a variation of GoFundMe. They immediately put one up. It raised, I think, the equivalent of $350,000, which is what they wanted. Very quickly. And then it surpassed that. She actually went and bumped it up to 500,000. So it well exceeded what they wanted. And that was a big contingent because some people were saying, well, how are you able to, commit a murder and then put a fund up to try to raise funds? And I think even I don't know if he was senator, but Ted Cruz posted, he was like, so a man commits a murder and then gets $500,000 on a GoFundMe. Me personally, I don't think politicians need to stick their nose in on something.
I was just thinking, keep your mouth shut. Like nobody, why say that? Like he has
facts.
That kid, guilty or innocent. You have a right to try and raise money, to try and mount a defense for your son. Like whether he's guilty or not, no matter what, you have a constitutional right. I'm allowed to raise money. I'm allowed to pay for a defense. I'm presumed innocent. That thus far that senator doesn't know what happened.
Yeah, and two, when a politician like that, someone of his stature, makes a statement or a tweet like that, you're already shaping a narrative because you have supporters and people that are, Ted Cruz thinks he did it. Yeah, he must have did. And that's unfortunately, Matt, that's where, you and I experience this a little bit. A divide amongst America, unfortunately, is good for business.
Oh yeah. That's views. Why do you think we're doing this?
Exactly. That's why I was going to say. That's why we're doing this. You got Republican, Democrat, left, right, black, white. I mean, just north, south, whatever, however you want to classify it. Gun-toting, non-gun toting. Everything that is for division is good for content. So everybody's going to come out with their own narrative, and that's something that you can't stop. You can't combat that. That's just going to happen. It happened in my case, in my self-defense shooting. You had the general public going to come out. You can't stop that. But I do think that politicians and people of higher end stature should probably just keep their mouth shut.
Yeah, politicians and actors. Like I always love some actor who was happened to be in a series or 2 hit movies, now suddenly decides he knows who should be the next president. It's like, bro, come on, you barely took acting classes. Like, who are you? You played Chewbacca in Star Wars. Like, what are you doing? You were the love interest in, whatever. Like, come on, man. Like and I mean, that's both parties. Like these guys need to just mind their own business.
I want it back a little bit. And that's one thing, like I didn't even get, and I don't want to get off topic, but like what's the lawyer down here? The Murdochs, like they had documentaries on Hulu and HBO before this guy ever went to trial. I don't even know how that was. I mean, not that I'm saying he was innocent by any means, but that's swaying, people's thought process. But, anyways, the kid does get locked up. His bond is $1 million, which is pretty steep for this. Now, a lot of factors go into when you're getting bond in a case like this, because it's different, because he's not saying, no, I didn't stab that kid, when everybody's saying, yeah, you did. He's saying, I stabbed him, but I did it in self-defense. So that's basically, it's Xing out that you're a danger to the community. You're not being initiated into a gang. It's a one-off, basically. So that's something that's going to be factored into it. His age is going to be factored into it. He's young. He's 17, like we said. Then not necessarily don't have a passport, can't flee the country. Now with $500,000, you might could get somewhere, but I don't even know if that was all accumulated at the time this bond was set. So in my opinion, I'm going to side with him again on this. I thought that bond was pretty high.
How much was it again?
It was $1 million.
Oh shit. I didn't hear that.
Yeah. And granted, you don't have to get bond. Like they don't have to give you bond on a murder charge. But again, this is a murder charge with a different set of circumstances because of self-defense. It changes the game a little bit when it's self-defense. But be that as it may, it was originally set at $1 million, which in most cases, if you got to come up with 10%, that's $100,000. The family lives in a pretty well-to-do neighborhood. Frisco, Texas is a pretty affluent neighborhood. Like you're not struggling. I don't think you're living check to check.
Sometimes you can sign your house over, or you put a lien on your house. That's right, and you put less down. So they may not have had to come up with 100,000. Maybe it was 50 or.
Well, it didn't, because it got lowered. It did eventually get lowered. So, and that's one thing we can talk about. There was a judge named Angela Tucker. She reduced that bond from $1 million to $250,000, which is was that a 750 decrease. Now that's not exact. That's probably where, in my opinion, it should be. In my own personal case, I had murder and possession of a weapon during a violent crime, which I'm assuming was probably similar to what he had. My bond was $150,000. The $100,000 was the lowest they could give you for the murder charge. They couldn't go any lower than that. And then the weapons charge in my case was $50,000. So my total bond was $150,000, which I had to come up with. It wasn't the full 10%. It was slightly less than that. I think I had to come up with like 12.5 to get out. So his was $250.
I was gonna say yours, once again, reasonable because you have kids, you're married, you own a home in the community, you're an upstanding citizen. You had been on the same job for a decade or whatever it was, 5 years, whatever. I don't know what it was, but
actually 15 at that point.
50, like you're not going anywhere.
Wow. Hey, y'all need to realize that a lot of times when people get their bond set in the first place, when your bond is set, it's gonna be set kind of high, and then they go negotiate down. That's in all cases, man. It's not like they just threw a big bond on him because he's black or he's a gangster or whatever. That's how it's always done, man. You know, and we so fast to play the race card, man. It's ridiculous. So you look at a lot of other cases. I remember when in Baltimore, the guy died in the back of a police, the paddy wagon. Then they started rioting, and this little boy got caught up in vandalizing
to this madness. I really
car.
do. Send a tip if you guys wish to. There's a dollar sign there. It goes a long way. We are 4 days away from his trial. Expect more litigation updates back and forth from the government, the prosecution, from the defense as well, from Diddy's side, because right now it's just messy, and this is only the beginning. I also expect this trial to last until, let's be real, mid-August.
The bond is always so high. Because I was asking, why is the bond so high? What did this little kid do? You know, oh man, it's always like that. He's a lawyer. See, we don't know. We just citizen. That's messed up. The bond is that high. It's always that high. This is how the game is played. Sorry.
And yours was you were saying not guilty, self-defense.
You know, I don't even have a problem with people supporting him if they believe that what he did was right. I don't necessarily subscribe to what he did is right 100%, and we'll get into that. But, you know, I see nothing wrong with backing your horse in this race. You know, there's no problem with that. People are going to pick sides. Not everybody's going to always agree. Just like the Kyle Rittenhouse situation. You had an X number of people said he was well within his right to protect himself. The other half said, no, he's a cold-blooded murderer and needs to go away. Nobody's ever going to agree. And people are going to back their whoever coincides with their belief system. But be that as it may, this young man did get bond. The judge, from what I understand, Angela Tucker, came under fire. She actually got some heat for lowering the bond as much as she did.
Like, he should have gotten out on bond. He should have been given, in my opinion, he should be given bond. He has a right to mount a defense. He needs to take part in that defense. It's much easier if you're out. And also the other thing about bond people don't realize is, like, he's not going anywhere. You know, oh, he did this. He's not going anywhere. He's not running. He's at home with his family. He's recognizable. I promise you, this kid isn't going anywhere.
And he's also on an ankle monitor. So that's another thing that, you know, obviously if he goes outside of whatever parameters they said, in most cases, it's your home, doctors, lawyers, school. I'm assuming in this case, I don't know.
In a case like this, they very, very seldomly does anybody run.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't have one issue with that kid getting bond. It's much easier to fight your case if you're outside than if you're sitting in a prison cell. So I don't have any issue with him getting bond. Matter of fact, I'm glad he got bond. You know, as far as the dollar amount, I guess that's, you know, maybe for that part of town or whatever, that's average. But, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. But now they have a victim's advocate that's kind of the spokesperson for the family in this situation.
This who y'all need to get rid of.
This gentleman has a hard time with the English dialect. You know, I've listened to him flat out butcher some very common words, but it is Minister Dominic Alexander. Now, this gentleman has quite the rap sheet himself. He's been arrested over half a dozen times. I shit you not. I've seen all the mug shots. He was actually convicted for committing bodily harm to a 2-year-old and had multiple allegations of former ex-wives for spousal abuse. Now, look, this has absolutely nothing to do with Karmelo Anthony. You know, this guy's shit is his own.
Yeah.
But for God's sakes, if you're going to pick somebody to represent you, I mean, get somebody with a clean record, for fuck's sake. I don't understand what the thought process here is. You know, there's got to be a guy out there that is better equipped to handle this situation. Why the lawyer's not talking, I don't know. You know, the lawyers, I haven't found anything with the lawyer talking, but he's got to be better on the mic than this guy.
And first of all, the lawyer's probably saying, you know, lawyers typically are saying, like, don't say anything. They're probably just not listening to the lawyer.
Yeah, probably not.
Or this minister. You did say minister.
He calls himself a minister. I don't know if he actually is a minister.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's a $50 certificate. So this minister, for all you don't.
Yeah, everybody tearing this dude up. You's a clown, man. Everybody's tearing the guy up, man. He said the dude butchers names and butchered words.
You did say minister.
He calls himself a minister. I don't know if he actually is a minister.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's a $50 certificate. So this minister, for all you don't, he may have already been in front of the family. Maybe they go to church. They already know him. He shows up. We need to do this. So he may already have them under his spell.
That's correct. And I mean, I don't know these people's stature in the community. They may know each other. They may be friends. They may go to the same church. You know, I don't know how they reached out, but a lot of times when you're involved in something like this, especially something that's high profile, people will find you, if for nothing else, for, you know, clout and representation to what they do. You know, people will seek you out. Hey, I'll do this for you pro bono. You know, they'll do, you know, pro bono work, whatever the case may be, to advertise them, their business, what they do. It's always an ulterior motive. They're not doing it out of goodness with their heart.
Right.
Now,
maybe they are. Maybe they're just good people. I don't know. But maybe they're just a lawyer with a heart.
A bullshit. A bullshit. A bullshit. A bullshit.
Oh, I kill myself.
As the lawyer with an empty pocketbook is what I say. So they got this guy front and center. He's in a lot of the interviews. Like I said, you'll know him by the butchering of the dialect that he does repetitively. Some words are just very, very difficult for this guy to get out. Like I said, you got a lengthy rap sheet. Bodily harm to a 2-year-old is not a good look, especially when you're representing someone fighting a murder charge. It's just not the best options. You know, you probably should have reconsidered that one, because you want from here going forward to be clean as a whistle. You don't want any blemishes. Now, they do a press conference. Now, at this press conference, it's a lot of things take place. We got to dissect this. So the press conference, this gentleman, like I said, he gets up and he butchers a lot of language, and the mom gets up and she's very tearful in her speech. And I can coincide with her a little bit because I was there to a certain degree. She's saying, look, you know, we moved here to give our kids a better life, you know, a better life than what we had. We're upstanding members of the community. You know, because of this action, now our lives are being threatened. You know, we can't go to work. She's got a daughter, I think, said that, you know, she's scared to sleep in her own bed because of death threats. Look, you're in Texas. I'm not saying that's not possible.
Yeah. But I mean, you can't go to work. Like it doesn't, like, come on. Like, what? Nobody's going to gun you down. Like, stop.
Yeah, and I mean, I can see where she's nervous about it. It is Texas. You know, so I get where she's coming from. But the problem is the husband is there while she's saying all this. And he's just like, every so often he'll wipe her tears. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, as the man, bro, why aren't you talking?
Right.
Like, why are you, unless you're just trying to get the mom or the women on your side in this case, why aren't you up here taking the brunt of this thing? You know, because it was your son.
Maybe he can't cry on demand.
It's possible. But she finishes this whole thing. And, there was allegations that they were getting money from this GoFundMe. They were buying exotic vehicles. They had moved into a bigger house that was a $900,000 home. From all the reports that I've read through, all those things seem to be false.
Oh, okay. I had heard they went out and bought like a really nice SUV, and they were looking at nice homes. I don't know if I didn't hear that they'd moved in, but I heard that that was like the next step.
Well, from what I understood when she did this press conference, the funds had only just became available, and this was actually verified from the CEO of the company of 𝗟𝗡𝗡𝗞𝗦. I think it's what a 𝗟𝗟𝗡𝗡𝗞𝗦. So from everything that I've seen, that was untrue. That was not the case. Now, however, since he's out, the editing or the wording has been edited of what the funds will now be used for. So now it's put on, could be used for private security, could be used for change of residency, different things because they aren't going back to work. They need to stay home. The wording has changed to where it's not every bit of the funds is going to be for legal representation.
Right.
But beforehand, as far as I can tell, none of that stuff was true. They didn't go on a spending spree. And really, I mean, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense anyway.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what's fucked up about that is that people were out there trying to spin it.
Yeah.
Like they got enough. These people have enough problems. Their family has enough problems. This kid's got some major problems. Like, do you really need a bunch of assholes stirring up those rumors? And then you got assholes like me who immediately believed it.
You ever read a headline and think, wait, that's not what I read earlier or here to see, and doesn't just show an event and happening, but bring up pictures, unlimited
everything we see
by description, ground.news/inside, and start seeing the news differently today.
Because our minds are trained to believe everything we see the first time we see it. That's the impact that social media has had. And that's the downfall of society. I remember when the George Zimmerman situation happened, Spike Lee, who's a pretty prominent movie director in Hollywood, tweeted out George Zimmerman's address and said maybe somebody should go ask him why he did what he did. It was the wrong George Zimmerman.
Wow.
He sent a shitload of people to this guy's house. The guy was worried his house was going to get burned down. And because he didn't do his due diligence, he almost got an innocent man killed. The power of social media is dangerous when you have a big following like that. So if you sensationalize fictitious and fabricated information, it's dangerous to a certain degree. It's dangerous for character. This could affect them going to court. Everybody's going to, like what you said, you thought, God damn, these people got this kid's facing murder charges and they're buying a damn Navigator or whatever the case. I don't know what car it was. But, people think like that.
So I'm going to jump in here and people can yell about it in the comment section. And I don't really care. But I have a Spike Lee story.
Okay.
It's not my Spike Lee story. Okay. But I know a guy. So I was locked up with a guy named Andrew Levinson. We called him Red Bull because he was there for running a business opportunity scam that dealt with Red Bull. Anyway, Andrew had I want to say it was a Bentley or a Rolls Royce. Let's go with the Bentley. I don't know which one it was, but so he had a Bentley. He's a member of like a really nice country club. He's living in a $3-4 million house, and he was living in I want to say like Palm Beach area. So it's Florida. So like a $3 or $4 million house, like a nice house. So he and his wife, they go to dinner at the country club. He said, we're leaving. And they walk up to where the valet is, and she turns to the valet and she hands him their ticket and says, it's the Bentley, or it's the blue Bentley. And the guy takes the ticket and he looks at her and he goes, okay. And she said, are you going to get it? And then Andrew hears this going on because he comes up behind her and looks, and he sees Spike Lee holding the ticket for the valet ticket. And he looks at, and he's like, Spike Lee's like, I'm not the valet. And he goes, oh my God. And he reaches over and takes the thing. He's like, and I'm so sorry. And his wife's like, she's like, why aren't you going to get it? He's like, and she's like, what? And he's like, yeah, I'm not the valet. He's like, that's Spike Lee. And she goes, who's Spike Lee? And he goes, he's a director. He's like a famous director. And he's like, I'm so sorry. And Spike Lee goes, listen, not a big deal. He said, I totally get it. And he said, he gives the valet comes running up, gives it to valet. He's like, look, and he goes, in my wife's defense, he had a jacket that was similar to the valet. He said, bro, funniest fucking thing. He's like, his wife was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. She's like apologizing. And I thought that was funny because he said, oh. I said, he wasn't offended. He said, no, he started laughing. He just shook his head. Like, don't worry. No problem. Anyway.
Those are the kind of things, though, that you have to watch out for. The spreading of misinformation, with the way Photoshop and shit is nowadays. And hell, the editing. We can edit a podcast like me and you were talking to Donald Trump, and it'll look like we're just going back and forth on a podcast. I mean,
oh, absolutely.
It's crazy. So you really got to take anything you see nowadays with a grain of salt. And to pick apart a little bit of about what she was talking about with, when something like this happens and the media attention, there's nothing you can do about that. It's not nothing that you can brush up under the rug. Listen, when I got out of jail, so, my situation happened on a early Sunday morning. That whole day, there was news vans all up and down my block, Monday, Tuesday. I get locked up, or they tell me I'm going to jail on a Wednesday. By then, the vans had started to disappear and not literally be across the street. I get locked up on a Wednesday. I surrender on Sunday. I surrender on Sunday, and I get released on Tuesday. When I got released, when I got back home, there were more out in front of my house. But to cover when I got that's nothing you're going to be able to avoid, because that's, especially if this is in a town where something like this isn't common, they're going to jump all over it. It's the biggest story to go. Now, give it a week. Nobody's going to talk about it very much anymore. It's going to be on to the next. But it's still going to affect, if you got kids in school, it's going to, now this story is different. This one will be in there for more than a week. But I'm saying in an average, something that isn't a media spectacle like this, you give it a week, it's on to the next story.
Let's go back to the press conference, because I understand the press conference was eventful.
Yeah. So that was the part of the press conference with Karmelo Anthony's family. Now, before this happened, and I don't know his name right off the top of my head, but Austin Metcalf's father shows up to this press conference.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if this was in like some sort of bingo hall, but auditorium or whatever, wherever this was. And he shows up. Obviously, this white guy walking in here. I'm assuming there weren't very many white people in this, gathering, and they know who he is. He's been in the media, which he's publicly also said that he forgives Karmelo Anthony, and he doesn't want this thing to be made into a race issue. But he goes in there, and on the surface, you would be thinking he's going there to start some shit. There's no other reason why you go into the gathering of the people, the family of the parents of the kid that murdered your son. You're going there to start some shit. And he goes there, and they're asking him to leave, and he's like, I'm not leaving. And eventually he's escorted out by, I guess that was whatever security they had. And what that did was really kind of paint a picture of the situation that happened with his son. He went into an auditorium where he was not wanted, where he was not invited. He was asked to leave. He said no, but yet at the end result was he did leave. He was removed, and he's still alive. He didn't stab anybody. Nobody died. It didn't resort to violence. And it was the point to prove this is how a situation like this should happen. It doesn't need to come to this. So I thought that was pretty, on the surface, when I first heard it, I'm like, oh, this guy was looking to start some shit. But then it goes, he just blows their whole case wide open because he goes there uninvited.
He made his point. He made it clear that I didn't come to do anything negative. I did not come here for that. I came to let y'all know that I forgive your son, and I wanted to talk to the family. This is what he was doing. I'm just stating the facts, man. I ain't saying that he should have did it or anything like that. Only thing I'm saying is this. He left. He knew he wasn't wanted. Yo, man, but I'm not here for no violence. I'm here to talk to y'all. I don't care what you're here for. You're not wanted here. It was clear that he knew that he was not wanted there. It was clear to him. So he left. Get it? It was clear that Karmelo Anthony was not wanted under that tent. All you had to do was leave. You know, knowing you had a knife in your bag and all that type of stuff was way... Oh my gracious, man. I'm telling you, man. You live by the gun, you die by the gun. You carry a gun on you, and you get so sick and tired of carrying a weapon on you. Weapon. I'm just gonna say weapon. They see, you know, you gotta use it. And then you gotta say, well, this is self-defense, because of course nobody wants to go to jail. Nobody wants to go to jail. Nobody.
He goes there knowing he's not wanted. Wrong side of the tracks, wrong tent, whatever you want to classify it as. He's asked to leave, doesn't want to leave, but eventually does, and he doesn't stab anybody. And he's like, this is how disagreements are supposed to be handled.
Right.
Which is, I think it was pretty powerful. So now that's kind of where we're at. That's the most recent thing. So now where we're at now is it's basically going to go to a grand jury, the pre-indictment phase. So a grand jury is going to hear, and they're going to choose whether to indict him. Now there's a saying that's really old, and I'm sure you probably heard it. They can indict a ham sandwich. I didn't even know I got indicted. It was just so common that the lawyer told me I was going to get indicted. And, you know, I asked him, I was like, am I even indicted yet? And he's like, oh yeah, that happened like 6 months ago. And I'm just, he's like, everybody gets indicted. Very rarely does the grand jury not indict. Because what people don't know is when you go in front of a grand jury, it's just the people that want to put you in prison is what the grand jury hears. They don't hear your lawyer.
Yeah. No, it's just the prosecutor walks up and he says, this is what happened, and he can shape it however he wants to shape it.
Yeah, your lawyer's not even involved in it. You're not there. Your lawyer's not there. It's not like you can say, that's not how it happened. You're not even a part of it, which is really a fucked up scenario. I don't really know how that's a thing and why it's been going on for so long, but that's how it is. So he's more than likely going to get indicted. Now what's going to happen is he's going to get probably offered a plea deal, or he's going to go to trial. Now they're hanging their hat on self-defense. So this is where this thing is going to get interesting. If they don't accept a plea deal and they go to trial, depending on what kind of plea deal they offer him, you know, those are things that you got to think about, because if they offer you if they plead it down to manslaughter and do 5 years, to get to that point will probably be 2 years.
You think manslaughter is 5 years?
I'm just saying 5 to 7. I've known people to get 7 for manslaughter.
Wow. I always think of manslaughter as around 10 to 15, but I'm in Florida. So I don't know what it is in South Carolina.
Yeah. I mean, it varies state to state. Texas, from what I understand, is fairly lenient, but so is Florida, isn't it?
Florida's horrible. They give out stiff sentences. You do 85%. The guards beat your ass. There's no air conditioning, which is the worst part for me. I'll put up with a lot, but you got cockroaches and no air conditioning. No, I can't do it. I won't do it. You see something that's that. I won't.
I'm allergic to jail, baby. I'm allergic to jail.
Tell it on everybody.
You know me so well.
So let's unpack the actual incident here from a lawyer's perspective, shall we? One thing I got to ask is, where the hell are the coaches and the parents that distract me?
I know. I wondered that. Like, how close in my mind, you know, it's so funny. You tend to formulate a scenario in your mind when you hear things.
Yeah. You shoot a movie.
Yes, exactly. I have a scenario in my mind, which is there's people around, but nobody's even close. And it's just Karmelo sitting underneath the awning, you know, and he's sitting there. His book bag is on the chair next to him, little folding chairs underneath this little kind of awning thing, that little tent, you know, the little tent stand that they put up. And the two brothers walk up and say, hey, hey, bro, this is for whatever, King High School or, whatever, this is for Cougar High School or whatever it is, Amelia Earhart High School, whatever. So, this is for, such and such high school. And he sits there and and he doesn't really say anything. And they're like, yo, bro, you got to get out of here. And he stands up and says, what are you going to do about it? And next thing you know, the kid, Austin pushes him. And then he says, get out of here. He says, he turns around, grabs his bag, reaches his hand in his bag and says, you fucking, you touch me again, you're going to fucking find out, motherfucker. And he turns around. And as he turns around, he goes to push him again. The kid stabs him. Kid drops down. He immediately takes off running. His brother, the brother standing there with Austin the whole time, heard the whole thing. Karmelo runs off, ditches the knife, eventually gets picked up. Nobody's really around that sees anything. Maybe the brother screams, people come running over. And in my mind, that's kind of the way I see it. The whole thing, what's so funny about that is when all of this comes out in the jury, in front of a jury, it may be there were hundreds of people around. There were 14 people sitting there. He was just standing by himself next to the thing. He walked up and, he may have been the aggressor. So Karmelo may have been the aggressor.
Right
or
now, we don't
Austin
know.
may have been the aggressor. Maybe he's sitting there humbly by himself and Austin comes up and immediately starts an argument or a fight. Like it will shift as you get the information. And as of right now, even in my scenario, which still says, hey, Austin is the aggressor, I still see Karmelo as being wrong for all the reasons that we're going to go over.
Yeah.
But then again, I also, even in my scenario, I still don't see, I still kind of see manslaughter. And I still don't see, I see 15 years, 20 years. I don't see, only because he's so young and he's just a stupid kid and you're 17, kids are stupid at 17. You're bringing a knife. You're just you're just a fucking idiot. And somebody died. So but I just, my fear, and my fear is here's what's going to happen while we're on the subject that I brought up. My fear is that his family is going to turn it into a black on white, or a white on black, or a, black and white issue.
I think that's kind of already been done.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you doing it in the press and then going in front of the court, is two different things. So I think they're going to do that in the courtroom. They're going to throw statistics out. They're going to talk about bullying. They're going to talk about how he felt, he was intimidated. They're going to do all of these things, and they're going to push that agenda, and it's going to unravel in a courtroom in Texas, and this kid's going to get 30 years.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? They're going to go with with this, with that self-defense and this and that. And the problem is the prosecution's going to come in and dismantle all of that rhetoric. And he is factually guilty, and he's going to end up, and you could have pled it down to get 10 or 15 for manslaughter. Instead, we went to trial. We got you for murder. You're getting 30 years. And that's
going back.
Right. Right. That's my fear, is that they think, we can.
I am praying that a lot of younger generation people will watch and study with a pen and paper. Will study this case, man, because I'm letting you know, man, that, you under somebody else's tent, you in somebody else's home, you in somebody else's territory, and all they ask you to do is leave. You could have left. You can't claim self-defense when you had another alternative. You had another way to get out. All you had to do is take thumbs up, y'all. All you had to do is just get your bag and leave. With all this. And he feeling it, man. I'm sorry, man. He feeling it.
Walk away.
Walk away,
I don't see you
man.
walking away, no matter what. Right. Right. That's my fear, is that they think, oh, we can walk away. I don't see you walking away. No matter what the scenario is, I think in the end, he brought a knife, he pulled a knife, he stabbed someone. I'm not saying it was premeditated, but you shouldn't have brought the knife. You could have walked away.
Here's where lawyers are really going to come into play, because you can't argue premeditation. And we'll just kind of hop into why these things are going to be prevalent and how lawyers are going to look into it. Because, and I'll just piggyback with this last thing. I think at the very least, the Metcalfs have a suit against that school for not having enough people around to stop this shit. Because you're telling me nobody was around. Security or nothing. And also, just to add to your point, you're going to find out more stuff. They have interviewed more people. Right now, we literally have one side of the story on record, police record. Before it goes to trial, everybody will get his side will get the discovery, which would be everything, any video footage. I find it hard. Nobody had a fucking camera going when all this is going on. If they did, they probably seized it. They're not letting it get out. They've got
Was there video? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
I don't know if there was. I heard there was, but I don't know for sure that there is.
Okay.
And there very well may be. And that's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of people don't understand like how court proceedings work. So when you're going to trial and you're facing the state and they're trying to put you away, there's a point in what's called disclosure. They have to give you everything, or discovery. They have to give you everything they're going to be using in court. Essentially, a lawyer won't be going in blindsided. They're going to say, okay, they have all this information. As to how they use it, how they spend it, that's different, but you know what they have. So you'll know if they got a video of you coming in and you pushing the Metcalf kid, which is going to totally fuck your narrative. They'll know that. And they'll say, hey, we got to reconvene. We got to redo this. So all those things will come out if this goes to trial. The one thing here is this whole thing started, remember, he comes up and he pushes Karmelo and says, get out of here, get the fuck out of our tent, whatever. Karmelo then goes to his bag and goes in for a knife, which some people have even said it wasn't a knife, it was a cleat sharpener. It doesn't matter if it was a fucking banana.
Yeah.
When he goes to that bag, he's fucked. My opinion, when he goes to that bag, it's done. Because self-defense, if you're not in your home where you have the duty to retreat a situation if you can. So if I come up and I push you, Matt, we're at that golf place we went and played putt-putt, and I push you and I say, get the fuck out of here. And you have the ability to walk off. You have that duty to retreat. And in this case, he didn't retreat. He went into his bag. He got a weapon that he probably wasn't supposed to have on those school grounds. I'm betting. I don't know you can get into blade length and all shit like that, but whatever. He makes the decision to go to that bag, open that bag, get that knife, then turn around and threaten him. And I think that is called, there's a name for it. I don't have it here. I don't know. It's a name for it where basically you initiate the confrontation at that point, because he could have left and that would have been the end of it. Both these kids would still be alive. But when he baits him, touch me again, you'll find out. And obviously this Austin kid went to do it. Then he stabs him in the heart. Those split few seconds is what this case is going to hinge on. He didn't retreat. He went to a bag knowing he had a weapon in that bag, went in, got the weapon, then turned around and baited him into coming back again. And then he stabbed him. That is what this case is going to hinge on. They're talking about, Karmelo's made Facebook posts with guns and money and whatever. So what? Name me a 17-year-old that ain't posed with guns. None of that shit matters. You can use that to try to discredit his character if you want to, but I mean, you can probably pull shit with the other kid. It's all going to boil down to that. That is what this entire case will hinge on, is him going to that bag, going into that. But you've got all that time. That even in and of itself can be considered premeditation, because you knew what was in that bag. Now, had he had the knife on him and he comes up and pushes him and says, get the fuck out of here, and he stabs him, that's a little different. But even then, what's because
you can say it was a gut response. I was scared. I pulled out my knife and I just thought I was poking. Like, it was you have that, it happened so fast and I was scared. But you're saying you had the opportunity to walk over, get the bag, open the bag, pull the knife, turn around. Like, there's too many steps there.
Illegal provocation was the word I was trying to find. That's where you bait someone to basically, initiate an attack.
Right. And you also, that's what I was going to say. You did that, whatever the name of it is.
Like, there's too many steps there.
A lot of steps.
Illegal provocation was the word I was trying to find earlier. That's where you bait someone to basically, initiate an attack.
And you baited him. Hit me again. No. You put your hands on me. It's almost like he did it twice. This is the story I'm getting. And I'm just going by the story I'm getting. The story, if I'm getting the story wrong, because I'm going by exactly what everybody has told me, all the videos and stuff. He said, man, you better not put your hands on me. Put your hands on me again to see what happened. And then he said, hit me. Hit me and see what's happening. Hit me and I bet you see what happened. So the guy hit him. And he saw what happened. Rest in peace, man. This is sad. This is sad. And I feel so sorry for the family. I feel sorry for Karmelo Anthony, because I know he is going over these steps 100 times in his mind saying, I wish I would have done something different. I wish I never even ran track. That type of thing. And he's regretting putting them pictures up, putting up the middle finger. He's regretting all that stuff, man. I know, because I've been through that. I've been through regretting. I didn't kill nobody. And I daggone sure enough didn't have my life on the line as far as going to jail. I was going to get suspended from school or expelled from school or something like that. And I was terrified, man. So some people learn a supersonic valuable lesson, man. And I'm hoping that I know one thing, no matter what, he's going to be a changed person, man. He's a changed person.
Because in a self-defense claim, you can't be the aggressor and then claim self-defense. Like, I can't come and, to you and be an aggressor, and then we get into a fight and you start kicking my ass and then pull out a gun and shoot you and say, oh, well, I was in fear for my life. No, I started it. So I lose the ability to claim self-defense.
Right.
So that's the biggest thing I think that he's going to have a problem with. And then the next thing is, when you resort to self-defense, you have to prove that you were in imminent danger of bodily harm or death. So what did this Austin kid do? He walks up and he says, get the fuck out of our tent.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't say, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to stab you. I'm going to shoot you. He says, get the fuck out of our tent. So you can't come back from a threat and a push with deadly force. That's not going to fly.
Right.
It's at least as, the one-on-one interaction between the two.
This is when people who's playing the race card, they close their ears. They don't want to hear this. But this is facts. This is written in law. What he's saying is written in law. Now, it may not be the word for word, but if you research self-defense, when you cannot use self-defense, if you was to research all this, you would find that basically you can use self-defense when you have no other choice. You can't say self-defense when I could have got in my car and I could have drove down this street. But nah, you drove to the person's house and went in there and said, well, once I drove to the house, they all surrounded me, and then I pulled out my gun and started shooting because I couldn't get out. Yeah, but why did you drive there in the first place? Huh? You can't get, I feel so sorry for the guy, man. I'm so sad over this. I'm sad because Karmelo really thought that, okay, wait a minute, let me get him to hit me first. Go hit me. Because I'm a claim self-defense. And he wasn't well educated on the self-defense rulings. A lot of people are not educated on law. It's law, man. You got to be educated on exactly what you're getting into, man. And that's what people close their eyes at. They don't want to hear this part because they think they right, or they think they should be right, when you should go by what's on the books. What does the book say?
With deadly force, that's not going to fly.
Right.
It's at least as, you know, the one-on-one interaction between the two. You have to match what's going on here. You know, you can't immediately come back with that. So that's going to be something that these, you know, attorneys for the Metcalfe or the state attorneys are going to use to blow holes in the self-defense case. And those two things right there, I think, are really going to be what sinks him. Now, depending on the caliber of lawyer that he's got, what they're going to have to do is flip this narrative. They're going to have to say, and this kid, by all means, in the pictures, he's not a small kid. Like, he looks like a guy that, if he needed to throw down, he could probably handle himself. He's a good football player. He runs track. He's definitely in good physical condition. So he looks like somebody that can handle himself if need be. But, you know, maybe he's not a violent guy. I don't know. The problem here is his lawyers is going to have to flip this entire script. So what they're going to do is they're going to say, okay, you know, this black kid was under this tent. I don't know the ratio of white to blacks. Maybe it was a bunch of white kids that went to school. He's around a bunch of white kids. One of the biggest ones comes up to him and pushes him. You know, he don't have time to think about it. He thinks he's got to get a weapon to protect himself. And they're going to start interviewing Johnny, whatever the fuck, over here on the corner. Hey, were you there? Yeah, I was there. What were you doing? I was just watching. Well, you know, where was your hands? I don't remember. Well, it was raining. Did you have on a jacket? Yeah, I had on a jacket. Did you have your hands in your jacket? Yeah, I probably did. No further questions. Because that could be said, hey, this guy seen, you know, two guys with a hand in the jackets. He didn't know if they had a weapon. That's where this thing is going to get real tricky and real sticky, is how are they going to present this to the jury to get him off? Because they're already working behind the 8 ball because he started talking. You know, he said, can this be considered self-defense? And see, that's another thing. It's called consciousness of guilt. So that's behavior following an incident that can indicate guilt, right? So
running, hiding the knife,
throwing the weapon, and then not even knowing if what you did is self-defense. If I'm that kid and those cops pick me up, bro, I had to, bro. He come at me. You know, his brother was there. He had 2 other big, you know, gigantic fucking offensive linemen behind him. I had to do it. I was scared for my life. I thought they were going to kill me. That's not what he says. He says, this can be considered self-defense, right? What I did, can that be considered self-defense? You're asking the cops if what you did was self-defense, which means you don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm saying all this, A, from a guy that went through a similar situation, and B, it's a lot easier to Monday morning quarterback something when, you know, it's after the fact. And I acknowledge that. But, you know, we have to do it because it's important for people to know these things. And that's where he's going to get into trouble, because you don't ask if it's self-defense. You fucking stand on that. You stand on business and you'd say, yeah, it's self-defense. He come at me. But even that's going to be hard, because what did he do? When he come at you, what did he say? He said, get the fuck out of our tent. That's it. That's all he said.
Right.
You know, that's what their lawyer is going to say. He said, get out of their tent. Was that worth taking this man's life? But did he say he was going to kill you? Well, no. Did he say he was going to stab you? Well, no. Did they threaten to, him and his brothers threatened to stomp you out? Or no. He said, get out of your tent.
Yeah.
So this can be
was it their tent?
Yeah. Was
their tent. Right. Was it your tent? No, it wasn't my tent. Why didn't you go to another tent? Why didn't you and I have a question. I had heard, once again, who knows what you hear on social media, right? I had heard that Karmelo had an issue where he brought a knife to school in the past. Is that true?
I have heard that. I cannot confirm that happened. But I did hear that. Now, they interviewed a girl, which is, I don't know whether she thought she was helping him or not, the poor kid. But she's interviewing, the news is interviewing her, and it's on TikToks if you find it. And they're saying what happened is, she's like, well, you know, I would never thought he would have stabbed somebody. You know, he's been in a lot of fights and stuff like that, but I never thought he would stab somebody. So you're not exactly helping the man. Maybe they're exes or something. Who knows? But again, you're only going to be able to take past shit so far. Like, they're 17-year-old kids. They get in fights. It doesn't mean they're fucking hoodlums. Yeah. I mean, I got all kinds of people in my school that got in fights, and some of them are lawyers and, doctors and all kind of stuff. Shit happens when you're 17, you're in school and you're Texas and you're competitive and you're in a sport that demands a certain level of masculinity. They're not playing fucking croquet and miniature golf over here. They're playing football. They're knocking blocks off. There's a certain aura and masculinity that comes with this that both of them had, apparently. And, it's unfortunate that it's going to be needled and nitpicked to, in December of last year, he posted a picture with a gun. He was looking for trouble. It's fucking months ago, bro. None of that is going to matter. And unfortunately for this kid, I think his self-defense claim is not going to work out. And the risk of what you said is if he doesn't take that plea deal and he goes and it doesn't work out in his favor, then he's going to be stuck with whatever the judge gives him, which could be, like you said, 20, 25, 30, it could be life. I mean, he is 17, but they'll probably try him as an adult because by the time this gets to court, he'll be 18. I don't know how that's, significantly looked at with the time difference. And, I've thought long and hard about this because the situation is similar in some ways, but it's very different. Because I said, I know people in the comments are going to say, what's Wade talking about? A guy hit him and, that guy wasn't armed and Wade shot him. Look, mine was different. One, I was in my house. All right. You don't have the duty to retreat if you're in your house. Two, this guy threatened to kill me. He didn't say, I'm going to whip your ass or I'm going to knock you out. He said, I'm going to fucking kill you. And then he put his hands on me and then he hit me. And then when he did let go, my back is literally against the wall, so to speak. I'm actually in a corner. I can't retreat even if I wanted to top off the fact I had just had back surgery a few days before this. I own a weapon that's not illegal. It's a certified weapon. I have my CWP license. And at that point, I had no other choice but to use that weapon. And with the castle law, you can use up to deadly force if your life is being threatened, which in my case it was. So yes, the guy didn't have a gun, but I didn't agree to a fucking fist fight with this guy. Like I said, I'm just out of back surgery. So I didn't say, hey, come on, motherfucker, let's scrap up. Let's go, toe to toe. I wouldn't have done that because I couldn't do that. So I didn't tell him to make that choice. He did it. And that's going to be the difference. I can hear these assholes in the comments now. It's not even the same fucking thing. It's nowhere near the same thing. This guy was not at his house.
Nowhere near.
The guy didn't threaten to kill him. And he's got a weapon that's illegal to have where he had it at. It's way different. And, the end of the day.
Do we know that it was illegal or it was just he shouldn't have had it there, or it was like, we don't know that it's illegal. Do we know?
It might not be illegal because I don't know the exact blade length, but I don't know their rules either. I mean, I wouldn't think you're supposed to have a weapon of any kind that attract me.
No, I agree. But there's a difference between policy or good behavior, just brains, and something that is, hey, that's a weapons charge. We don't know what it is,
right? And that's where the gray area comes in. That okay, there's not signs up saying no guns, no knives at this length or whatever the case may be. So it's not even a written rule to say don't bring a knife to a track meet, or you shouldn't have weapons on school grounds. Maybe that's because it's a school they was at, any school. If they all meeting at some school, I don't even know what school they was at. Were they at his school or the Karmelo school, the twins school, or was all the schools meeting at somebody else's school? I don't know all that. Only thing I do know is you go into a track meet and you got a knife or some type of clique sharpener. They claimed it was a clique sharpener, and then I heard that there's no such thing as a clique sharpener. I mean, what is a clique sharpener? I would think something to sharpen the cliques wouldn't be a weapon type looking thing. Who knows? I don't know.
But what we do know is you had an opportunity, you had it with you, you had an opportunity to retrieve it, which means you also had an opportunity to walk away.
Right. And in those times, what a jury is going to do is even if this is not your thought process, they're going to paint a picture to the jury, and they're going to say, this guy knew that if he went over to that bag, that he could entice Mr. Metcalf to come at him, and he stabbed him on purpose. That's what they're going to do. They're going to paint you the worst way they can do it.
Oh yeah. They're going to say stuff about you that you're just going to be like they can take a normal everyday thing that what nobody would think much of and make it sound so ominous and so horrific that you're like, what are you talking about? I was checking the mail. And by the time they get done saying it, it's going to be, he was staking out this and he was intimidating. He came out every day and intimidated his neighbors. And I was checking the mail. You know, I was playing with my dog. My dog had to pee. You know, he had a vicious chihuahua that terrorized that neighborhood and bit children in the neighborhood. You're like, what are you talking about? They love that dog. So yeah, they'll turn it into, it'll be horrific. Like by the time they get done with this kid, with Karmelo, he's going to be like this. I can't believe how they'll twist anything. Even if it's innocent, they're going to twist it and you're going to be a monster and you're going to end up with fucking 30 years or worse. If they this black and white issue.
I'll bring up something Joey Merlino said that was hilarious. And I know this don't really compare in this situation, but he was talking about how they were talking about him in court one day. And he's like, this fucking guy was so convincing. By the time he got done talking, he actually had me believing that I really did what they were accusing me of doing. Now, whether he did or not's another story, but the way he said it was funny. He's actually kind of funny on some things, but he's telling the truth, because I remember when I was in there to get bond, obviously they're not wanting to let this man he's a danger to the community. He's committed this horrible act in a neighborhood with children where they're out every day, and he could do it again. And I mean, just all these things. And, you know, he lured this man here. I'm like, lured him. This fucking guy reached out to me. I didn't lure shit. And he's like, he lured him here with this plan of, I mean, but that's their job. I understand what they're doing, but I mean, I'm sitting and you can't say anything. And I'm sitting there looking like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? And I look at my lawyer. I was like, is he serious? And he's like, shh.
Yeah. Oh, they don't say anything to him.
Yeah. We're good.
This proceeding will be over in a minute. I'll be able to go to lunch and you're going right back to the fucking holding cell.
Yeah. And that's exactly what happened. And in my case, the lady didn't even say bond granted, bond denied. She said, I'll make my decision and let you know, and bang the gavel. And I'm cuffed up. I looked at him. I said, what the hell does that mean? He said, I guess that means she'll let us know. And they're, carrying me off to the next room. And I asked the guy, I'm like, what does that mean, bro? He's the bailiff or whatever is uncuffing me. He's like, you'll probably get a decision in a week or two. And I'm like, a week or two? Like, I'm not cut out for a week or two in here. I just 24 hours and I'm ready to go. This is not my idea of a 5-star hotel by any means, but those are the kind of things that they're going to do to that kid. They're going to paint him in the worst way. Now, his legal defense is going to go the exact opposite, just like mine did. It's, hey, look, he's a pillar of the community. He's worked for the same company for 15 years.
He said a whole week. He said, well, how long? A whole week? I can't make it that long. Well, how long you think you can make it? Maybe about 3, 4, 5, maybe 6:30. Oh my God. 6 days. I'm counting hours, cuz. 6:30. That's how much long. Get me out of here. I'm allergic to jail, man. I can't do this. I can't do this, man.
He's got a daughter. Wow. He's got a son. He's got a wife. His wife works for here. His daughter goes here. They're going to paint it the exact opposite. And it's just like a documentary. When you watch a documentary, the documentary is going to favor whoever financed the documentary.
Right.
If you watch the one, The Staircase, that was put on by John Peterson, right? I think that was his name. So it's going to show him in a better light than somebody that was financed it of his wife, people that think he's guilty. You're going to get the narrative from whoever financed the project. And that's what both of them were going to do. And I think at the end of the day, this kid would be wise to contemplate a plea deal.
Mm-hmm. I mean, in his mind and his family's mind, they can't imagine being without him for the next 10 or 15 years. And he can't imagine going to prison for 10 or 15 years. So in their mind, they're thinking, no, we have to go to trial and we'll go to trial and win. That's where you're making the mistake. See, going to trial and winning when honestly, you are you're guilty of something. Like this is not self-defense. You're guilty of something. You need to try and get yourself in a position to accept the plea of the lowest charge with the lowest amount of time, as opposed to thinking that you didn't do anything wrong. It's hard for people to accept.
That's facts right there, man. You went under somebody else's tent, and then all this stuff in the middle is somebody is dead because you bought a knife and you stabbed somebody and you're trying to say it's self-defense. Okay, we got it. We got the whole thing. You did nothing wrong. Somebody's dead. That's what you're going with. And that's what's the problem is right there.
Of the lowest charge with the lowest amount of time, as opposed to thinking that you didn't do anything wrong. It's hard for people to accept that they did something wrong because you can justify it to yourself.
Right. Oh, yeah, you can. And at least in that position, you can somewhat control the amount of time you're going to be gone. And my lawyer told me the same thing. He said, look, they're probably going to offer you a plea deal. In my case, it was a little different because so much time had passed due to COVID. He said, they'll probably offer you, something pled down to time served. That way it guarantees you don't go to prison, but you plead guilty. And, they never did. They just ultimately dismissed it. But had they did that, it would have been something I'd have had to think about, because if I'd have said, fuck you, I'm standing on, I didn't do it, and we go to trial, I'm never coming out, or at least not no time soon. And so those are just things that, most people would shit their pants to think about. But unfortunately, this is something this kid's got to put in perspective. And the sad thing about it is 2 lives have been ruined. Both of these kids seemingly were good kids, made good grades, standout athletes, probably I don't know for sure if they were captains, but probably captains of the football team, and now one's gone, one's dead. He's never coming home. The other one's probably going to do some jail time. So his athletic career is over. Probably a lot of his life is going to be, predetermined by this outcome. It's going to follow him everywhere he goes. So in all intents and purposes, his life is pretty fucked, going forward, and unless he's able to spin it in some kind of different narrative, which maybe he will. It's sad because both lives are ruined because of this act, where it was very much avoidable, because you don't want to look like a bitch when the guy tells you to get out of our tent, but yet now you went and stabbed him in the heart.
Yeah, but I don't want to do 10 or 15 years in prison either.
Right. I'll definitely, so you can call me a bitch and let me be out.
Bitch me up like a motherfucker as opposed to having to face a fucking potential 30-year prison sentence if you go to trial. And here's the thing too. Listen, like I know what you're saying, how you've kind of broken it down, and I've watched some videos on lawyers and Officer Tatum.
Yeah.
Tatum? Officer Tatum breaks it down. He was a former police officer. These guys break it down. And I understand, but the people that will really probably get a sense of what really happened and see all of the evidence is obviously the jury.
Yeah.
And the jury's going to be, they're going to paint Karmelo as, the prosecution will paint him as a monster. And, and his defense team will paint him as being this poor kid that has been bullied and intimidated his whole life by these white kids, and these 2 white kids came up and they said this and they said that. And if it's just his word and he takes a stand and he cries a lot, and it's his word against the brother's word, in the end, legally, I still think he gets a lot of I think they get him for murder as opposed to manslaughter, and he's getting 25 or 30 years at least. If they try and do that, like I said, they try and do the whole black and white thing. Like, God, I think that's going to be the biggest fucking mistake because I don't think they're going to give a fuck in Texas.
Yeah, that's the problem. And that's the only way they can really, that's the only thing they can try to do is spin this whole narrative of a black and white thing. But you take everything that he's done, all the opportunities that he had to retreat, the fact that he took the knife there to begin with, the fact that he went to the wrong tent, whether he knew it or not, because as soon as you go in there, you're going to recognize those teams' fucking colors aren't yours. So you should, oh shit, wrong tent. Let me get the fuck out of here. You know, you've got all sorts of opportunities to get out of this situation. And then you put that kid's brother on the stand and you have him detail that his twin brother, his best friend, somebody that when he looks in the mirror, he sees died in his arms because this kid stabbed him after his big brother pushed him and told him to get out of the tent. It's not good, bro.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Well, you know, the other thing is that press conference, it worries me that they're unwilling at this point, his family, him, so far, it appears to be that there's no acceptance of any responsibility at all on their part. It's completely my poor son, poor us. And it's like, wow, bro, like that's not going to go over well. And in social media, maybe, but when it comes down to a courtroom, vastly different. Like,
you know, followers ain't shit to those 12 people on a jury.
No. You know, it makes me think about, it's kind of like, look, there's actual innocent and there's factual innocence. You know what I mean? And O.J. Simpson was factually innocent. That man butchered those two people. Okay.
You know, Chris Todd says different, pal.
I know, Chris Todd. I get it. I hear you, Chris. I want to believe you. No one does. But yeah, it's just Chris Todd, it's right? Just
wow.
I feel like this is a case for Chris Todd. Okay. Chris Todd, I think, could jump in his vehicle right now, drive to Texas from LA, where he lives in his basement. He could drive from his basement apartment to Texas. He could solve this whole thing over the weekend, write a book and put it out. I think within a month, we'll know way before what's happening.
I'd be interested in the book part of it for sure. But, yeah, it's not here nor there.
Yeah.
Matt, in your opinion, you've been through the legal system. You've been through this. I didn't necessarily finish that process. It started, it stalled, and then it was dismissed. So what is he looking at before this thing goes to court? If he decides to forego any sort of plea deal, what is he looking at before this thing goes to trial? 2 years from now, you think?
I mean, it depends on if they try and do. I don't know if there is a fast track system in Texas. I would say you could drag it out for a year to 18 months, or maybe you could. I don't know. I don't know Texas, so they could drag it out 2 years. Probably.
You got to try to drag it out 2 years, and I find that kid's defense. I'm trying. I don't know the exact verbiage for it, but there's a motion you can make to a change of venue. I'm trying to get that fucking thing out of Texas. Or at least out of that town.
You can't get it out because it's state. You're not getting it out of Texas. You might get it out of town. You're not getting it out of.
Yeah. You can't get it out of state. You might, maybe it's worth getting that. Look, at this point, it's so big. The odds of you getting it in front of 12 people that haven't heard about it.
I'm in Tampa. You're in South. You're in you're in South Carolina, but where in South Carolina?
Charleston.
You're in Charleston, South Carolina. I'm in Tampa, Florida. You called me up and mentioned it. I was like, oh yeah. I've been watching. Everybody knows about this at this point. Everybody.
Yeah. The change of venue. I mean, you might eliminate the risk of getting someone that's really connected to the victim. You might eliminate that. But still, you're probably not going to get away from people that know it. And that's the thing too, like jury selection, like this thing is going to be split, divided 50-50. If his defense team puts any white person alive as their six, each of you gets 6, right?
Yeah.
I think each gets 6.
No. I mean, you're. It's not that. Well, so you have so many that you can kick off,
right?
You could challenge. It's really just that you're both basically picking the jury.
Yeah, but I thought the defense got 6 and the prosecution.
You get like strikes. So let's say the jury. I can say we have no problem with this jury, with this jury member, and the prosecution might come and say strike. You only have so many strikes. They go, no, strike. We don't like them.
There you go. You only have so many strikes.
Well, I understand, but
you picking a jury, period, all through the United States. Now, I don't know about other countries. You just get an X amount of strikes. It ain't like we can pick 6 people and they pick 6 people. Because I can pick 6 people and they can strike some of the people. And they can strike. You just get an X amount of strikes, though. You can't strike everybody. Somebody got to be on the jury.
But you get to a point where if you have 6 strikes,
can't do anymore.
Right. Then guess what? I'm picking the jury. You see what I'm saying? Like if you strike the first, they line up 6 white guys in a row and the defense uses all their strikes. Then the prosecution's like, I'm picking a jury. Like, they're getting the next 6 guys or the next 12 really. Cause you got,
that's how that process works.
Now they can argue. They can still have a conversation. Like, do you feel this? How do you feel about this? And the judge may say, I'm going to, I'm not okay. I'm not okay with this jury. Why? Well, because this guy or this juror, this guy works with, with Austin's father.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm sorry. Or this guy said he used to be a member of the KKK, but he's all better now. Like, I don't feel good about that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that's the thing too. They tried to drag both of the parents to like there was reports that Austin's father was arrested for sexual assault on a minor, which that turned out to be false. There's reports about Karmelo's dad having a criminal record. Look, who gives a shit? None of that has anything to do with this. Both of those kids' parents can be fucking convicted felons to the hilt. It doesn't have anything to do about what happened under that tent.
Yeah,
all that shit's just ridiculous.
The social media stuff's bullshit. What's funny is, although you and I are talking about it, I feel like if you and I sat here and just drilled down on Karmelo, right? Or we sat here and talked about what a horrific individual Austin was and this and came up with all this stuff. This video gets 500,000 views.
Right.
But because we're being level-headed, we'll be lucky to make 100,000. But at least we've made a video that is neutral. It's just like, this are the facts. This is the way, based on our opinion, this is the facts. This is how it works out. It's too bad that people will try this whole thing. But in the end, the people that are going to make the decision is going to be that jury. And even worse, the jury will make the decision. The judge will determine if he's right, the sentence. Now, I knew a guy one time, by the way, I was locked up with. Oh, this guy has such a horrific story. So he owned a body shop, and he's Mexican and he lives in California. I would say it's California or Texas. It might have been Texas. He lived in one of those states that borders Mexico. He's like, I'm Mexican. He's like, but I don't speak Spanish. He owned a body shop. He pulls up in his Corvette one day. He's like, pull up in my Corvette. I pull up next to a truck there's 2 or 3 Mexicans in it. It's like he's at like a 7-Eleven, a convenience store. Anyway, pulls up. He said, I go in, I get something to eat, whatever. I come back out, and he's with his girlfriend, by the way. So with my girlfriend, he said, I came out, and as he's getting into his car, one of the Mexicans says something in Spanish, and he's like, they talk to him. He opens the door, is going to get in, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, man, I don't speak Spanish. And the guy says something else. He's like, no habla. And the guy was like, he had jumper cables. He's like, can you jump the car or whatever it was? They were trying to get him to help him. And he was like, I can. Well, he starts to say, yeah, I can, let me pop the hood, whatever. And one of the guys starts mouthing off. One of the Spanish guys, he's like, one of the Mexicans, he's like, they were drunk. It's like he said one of them was clearly drunk, and he's like, "Oh, you don't speak Spanish. You think you're better than us, and you're driving your fucking Corvette. You think you're better. You don't speak Spanish, bro. I know you speak Spanish, you know." And he's like, "Man," he's like, "I really don't speak Spanish." It's like, "I don't speak Spanish." So he said, "I didn't speak Spanish," and so he ends up saying, basically going, "Yeah, you know what? Got good luck, bro." Goes to get in his car. Well, the guy is coming around, gets in his face as he's trying to get in. And he said the guy starts fighting him. Like they start fist fighting. He goes, "So I'm fist fighting. The other guys jump in. He goes, I'm trying to climb into my car to get away from them." He said, "My girlfriend is screaming her head off." He said, I'm holding onto my seat, and I remember my gun's under my seat. He said he reaches in, he pulls out, pulls his gun out, turns around, boom, shoots one of the guys. He said the other guys, I think they kind of take off. He stands up. The other guy is still there, kind of like grabbing for the gun. He said, I shoot him. He hits the ground and he unloads it. Pop, 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 pop. He unloads the entire clip into him. That's what he said. He goes, that's where I fucked up. Yeah. He said, shooting him, I had no problem. They said, you shooting him fine. They said, but when he hit the ground, you unloaded your entire fucking clip in him. Now he was arrested for murder. His whole thing was, I was being attacked. They were like, yeah, but it was way more than just deadly force. Like you executed this guy, or when he dropped backwards and hit the ground and everything, you should have stopped. He wasn't a threat anymore. And you unloaded the clip. And he's like, keep in mind, he said, I was trained by a guy when I got my like your concealed weapons permit. They were like, you unload your fucking clip to make sure these guys don't come back. This is what he's telling me. I don't know if it's true or not.
This is why I keep telling people, you have to know law. You have to research and understand law for yourself. What is in the books? Don't go by what this guy taught me and I'm getting a certificate from him. That ain't gonna stand up in court, bruh. That guy who gave you a certificate, oops, I'm sorry. You mean I was teaching people wrong? You unloaded a clip into this Bama. You unloaded the clip into the dude, man.
The horrible fucking instructor, I can tell you that, because when I took that course, that's why I said he fucked up, because everybody always says that, oh, you unload the clip, you stop when it's empty. You do that, you're going to get fucked, because what it is, the legal terminology that they use is you're in fear for your life. There's an imminent threat. Once you shoot him and that guy hits the ground, he's no longer a threat. So when you come up and you unload him, bah, 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 and put 3 more times, at that point, you're the aggressor. You're the one that committed the murder. So on the first 2 shots, self-defense. When he unloads the clip, it changes the ball game.
Yeah, you're aggressive. Too aggressive.
He had money. At that time, he had money. I don't know if he still had money. He must have still had money, because I'll tell you another part to it.
His lawyer's got it now.
Yeah, his lawyer does. So I remember he said they did 3 mock trials. He said, I lost 2 of them. One of them was a draw.
That's not good.
No. He said, I still went to whatever it is. I still went to trial. He said, because they were offering him, I forget what it was. They were offering him 15 years or something. And he didn't want to take it. And he's like, I didn't feel I did anything wrong. He goes to trial. They get on there. They do the whole thing. He loses. And he gets sentenced. And I want to say, I don't remember the sentence. Let's say he got 30 years or 25 years. I don't know. Okay. I don't remember the sentence, because he said, so my lawyer's like, so I got 30 years. I'm waiting to go to prison. I'm locked up. I'm now in custody, because he was out.
Right.
He'd gotten bond. Now they take you, that when you boom, sentence, take him.
Yeah.
He said, my lawyer puts in a motion to whatever, quash this evidence and get a new trial and whatever. And he said, And he said the judge denied it. He said he came back to me and he said, yeah, we got the denial. He said, I'm talking to him through the glass, right? I'm in jail waiting to be moved to prison. He said, look, I can file a Johnson motion or whatever you call it. I don't know what it was. And he's like,
all these things. Yeah.
He said the first motion was like fucking 45 pages. Denied. He said second motion, he said 25 pages. Denied. He said comes back. He said, I can file this motion. He said it was about 10 pages. Denied. He said, comes back and said, I can try and say that they did not prove that it was not premeditated, but it was something. Because it wasn't premeditated. It was something that they didn't prove their case. And he goes, it's a weak argument, bro. It's weak. And he said, fuck it, bro. Just file it. And he goes, okay. He files it. He said, I'm talking about like six. He's just like fucking 5 pages, 6 pages. And that includes the front page, the one you sign. This thing's like 4 pages of actual content, 4.5 or something. It's not good. He said, the judge said, okay, you're right. I don't think they proved their case beyond the shadow. I don't think it's whatever it was. He said it was a weak argument. Judge said, I absolutely agree. Absolutely. Boom. He said, they had 10 days to refile their case, the charges. And he said, so that my conviction, boom, gone. My sentence gone. He said they had 10 days. They refile for it. Okay, we'll take them to trial again. He said, then they came to him and they said, look, we'll give you time served or something. I forget what it was. Maybe 3 years or 5. I don't. It was extremely a minor, whatever, right? Maybe 6 months. I don't know what it was, but it was so. He was like, "Oh fuck yeah," signed it. He said, "So I want to say it was some kind of time served, but he was a felon. He's now a felon. He's like 10 years.
That's what it is. It's time served. You don't have the threat of going back to jail, but you're still guilty and you're a felon."
Correct. Because keep in mind too, they're going to present the exact same evidence that they've already presented, and he's already gotten this award. So there was less likelihood that he was going to be found. He's like, because I was thinking, well, they already found you guilty once. They'll just do it again. He goes, no. Because now I have this motion, and they can only present the same thing, as they don't have any new information. By the way, this I thought was funny too. His girlfriend had broken up with him. And I think he was engaged to a woman he had met while he was out on bond or something. Maybe he was married. I don't know. But she was with him the whole time he was locked up. Here's the interesting thing. The girlfriend that he broke up with, that was there, she testified for him. I was like, bro, you're lucky. He's like, no, I mean, we were on good. It just didn't work out. It's like, it's like, I've barely been dating her. We've been dating a few months. And he goes, and this was traumatic. And, she didn't sign up for that. But I love the fact that he goes, and when we broke up, she said, listen, no matter what happens, I will come and testify for you. He goes, and she did. And she was like, I'll testify in the fucking next one. She's like, you didn't do anything. She's like, I was fucking terrified. So he takes the deal. He gets out. I want to say 6 or 7 years later, somebody is selling drugs. Maybe he was selling drugs. I don't know what the issue was, but his body shop was raided. They find nothing. There's nothing, whatever. I don't know if it was because of him or if it was because of an employee. I don't know what it was. I want to say it was an employee. He said, I didn't have nothing to do with nothing. But they raided his place. They find a gun. It's his gun. He gets 5 years.
Oh, because
he's a felon in possession of a firearm. So he ends up getting like 5 years. He had gone to another prison for a couple years, and then he came to Coleman, and that's when I met him in Coleman. I want to say his name was Eddie. Anyway, here's what I always thought was very interesting about Eddie. By the time he got this charge, he's now got a daughter who's like 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old, still owns the body shop, married, goes to jail. When he goes to jail, he wrote something like, he said, he wrote 50 letters because he goes, my wife is my lifeline to the outside. He's like, you know how it is. And I was like, right. He's like, I have no ability to be on the internet. I can't really email back. I can't, he's like, I know everybody she knows. She's really the only person I'm communicating with. I said, okay. He wrote like 50 letters to department stores throughout the United States. So he said, first I hit my area, nobody. Then more areas, then other ways at Dillard's, Burdine, Saks. He finally got a woman here's what he was writing. I want to be able to send my wife presents without anybody knowing. And I'm in prison. I need help. There are 50 letters. Some woman at Saks Fifth Avenue wrote him a letter back and said, you have to pay up front. I will pick the presents and I will wrap them and mail them and you have to pay up front. And he was like, that's all, he's like, that's all I want. I'll pay up front. Like, I'm not trying to, this isn't a scam. I just don't want my wife to know. Like, I want these things to show up and she has no idea how they're getting there. I want to say it was like 3 or 4 years he'd been doing this.
Wow,
and his wife was like, she's getting stuff for her birthday, for Christmas, and the woman was, he's like, she's writing him letters. Hey, and she sent him, she would send him, like catalogs and, hey, we just got this. Your wife might like this. He's like, it became almost a friendship.
Yeah.
Like she looked up my case. She'd read about it. She had cut out articles and sent them. If you need anything else, let me know. Like really a good person. And he said, of course I was able to, because you can have, if you have an inmate account, you can have checks issued and mail places.
Yeah.
So this is a huge effort on his part. But he did that. And that's one of the reasons that he sticks out to me, because his case was like, wow, bro, like you're in prison. He only took a plea because he was so scared to go to trial. And he's like, listen, if the mock trials, he said, if I hadn't been found guilty and the mock trials he said, I would have gone to trial again.
Yeah. And
so the only reason he was in prison was because he accepted the plea and he accepted the felony. If he hadn't accepted the felony,
the gun wouldn't have mattered.
The gun wouldn't have mattered, and he wouldn't have had to go to jail for 5 years or 4 years. I forget what they gave him. 4 years, 5 years. There's like another part of his story that is so heart-wrenching. I'm not going to tell you it between him and his daughter, because I really have to stop fucking getting emotional on these fucking podcasts and tearing up. And I can't even tell you this. I can't even think about it without fucking getting fucked up. That bad. Has something to do with him and his daughter. Just a horrible situation. She was a sweet girl and everything. It was just a realization on her part about him, having to visit him in prison. One day she realizes what's happening. Like she did, you're 4 or 5, you don't really know. But years, she's starting to figure out something's wrong, And then they get to that point where it's like, Daddy, come home. Why don't you come with us? Oh, fucking just. Oh yeah, bro. And it's much worse. I'll tell you when we get off, you're going to be fucked up. It's fucked up.
Dude, I can imagine, because it come to a point to where I didn't know if I was going to, my son, he's 16 now. And at the time he was like 8. So he didn't really understand what was going on, but they're talking about it at school. Kids are talking about it. Hey, I heard your dad shot someone. And, to him, he's like, he even said, he's like, yeah, it was self-defense. So you heard me say that. And, that's the narrative we're going with, but I don't think he even understood the pressure and the what was hanging in the balance at the time. And I think about that. Like when I was out on bond, literally within a month, and I think I shared the story with you, but my daughter graduated, so I was able to go to her graduation. I couldn't go anything else. I had to come home after. I couldn't go out to eat or nothing like that. It said, you can go to her graduation, you can come home. And so I'm going to there and I'm just like, I'm starting to cry because I'm thinking like, I'm seeing her graduate. Well, I'll be out when my son graduates if this don't go my way. And that's one thing that we didn't really talk about with this case, because if they give him a self-defense case, there's essentially could be two trials. There could be a self-defense case, and in that, it's flipped, because in a normal trial, the state has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you did what they said. But now if he's claiming self-defense and they do an immunity hearing based on self-defense, it's a hearing like normal, but the burden of proof is flipped. And you can only do that one time. So you can say, hey, my client did this as self-defense, but all the proof is going to be on them to prove the narrative that he acted in self-defense. And if they come back and say, nah, bro, you didn't do that, then it's trial time.
And he can't mount that defense at trial.
Correct.
He can't use that.
I mean, he can still use some of it, but obviously if it didn't work then, it ain't going to work with the other one. And you have the one shot. And that's what my lawyer told me. He's like, because we were preparing for the immunity hearing. He was like, we have to make sure we have our shit together, because he was like, we can't rush into this. We were flying forensics experts in from New York. They were setting up lasers at the house, shit off CSI Miami looked like. I mean, blood swabs, this, that, DNA, yada, yada, the whole 9 yards, shit you see on TV. And he's like, we have to have it ironclad, foolproof. He said, we have one shot. He said, if you do not win the self-defense hearing, he said, we can't. He said, we can still go to trial and prove that you didn't act, you didn't murder the guy, but the self-defense claim is done. Also, the self-defense claim, if they can win it, it will protect his family from being sued by the Metcalf family, because they're saying you were within your right to do what you did, and the Metcalfs can't come back and sue him, which is why, like, OJ was found not guilty of the murder, but then the Goldmans come back and still sued him for $5 million.
Yeah.
Even if you beat it in a regular trial, if they go to regular trial, and they come back, we find him not guilty, the Metcalfs can still sue the Anthonys after the fact in a civil suit. So we could be looking at two trials. The first one would be the self-defense trial. And if that goes bad and it doesn't go his way, odds are the other thing won't go his way either. But the thing is, they're going to offer you that plea deal first before you do the immunity hearing. So if you deny that plea deal and you go with that immunity hearing and it doesn't go your way, it's going to be much worse. It's a long fucking year and a half. And listen, the agony that kid is going to go through, 5 years, I was wondering what was going to be my outcome, which is a long time. But mine had different circumstances. It was COVID and it backdated the courts and everything else. But that is the worst feeling. I feel for the kid. I feel for the other family too. But I
feel for both families. Absolutely. I mean, I think that the kid, I think Karmelo fucked up. You're a fucking real asshole. You know what I'm saying? It was a real piece of shit move. It was a stupid move. But I also take into consiration you're a 17-year-old boy. I think it's manslaughter. That's what I think it is.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Probably get to manslaughter. The biggest thing that they're going to be able to argue is you're not locked in a fucking house. You're not in a closed off room. You're not surrounded. You're at a school event at a field in a fucking tent. You had ample opportunity to leave. Even when you first walked in and realized it was the wrong tent, you get the hell out. Look, if I'm with my high school and I know our biggest rivals are out there and somehow or another I wander into their tent, I'm getting the hell out of there quick. I know what's going. I know how that shit operates, He had all the opportunity in the world to leave, and that unfortunately is what they're gonna. I say unfortunately, that's what they're gonna hone in on. That's their job, and I think that's what's gonna be his demise in this case. It will get highly publicized. It will cause a huge, much worse racial divide than we already have. People will pick sides. People will probably lose friends over this thing. It'll be a great divide, and unfortunately, at the end of the day, he's probably still going to do some time, and the other kids, never going to come home again. So
yeah. I was going to say the real problem is that there is no good solution.
No, there's not.
Everybody's like, oh, this is there will never be a good solution because this, Austin is not coming back. There's just no, and Karmelo is going to have an irrevocable monkey wrench thrown in, rightfully so, thrown into his life, and his life will forever be defined by this. It's some way, it will never leave him. So like I said, in the end, it's just no matter how much time he gets or doesn't get, it's just never going to bring back the other kid. And it's just
give him 100 years. That family's never going to heal from that.
Oh, absolutely. You give him 10 years or 100 years, like no matter what, it's just a shitty solution.
Both families will never heal from this.
Hey, you guys, if you like the video, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notified of videos just like this. Please consider joining my Patreon. And also, Hollywood Wade has a channel. It is called Crime and Entertainment. In the description box, I'm going to leave the link to Crime and Entertainment. You can click on the link. You can shoot right to his channel. Anyway, once again, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. See ya.
Wow. I'm trying to tell y'all, man, you can sit here and act like a bad boy if you want and act like, oh, it's self-defense, so it's all good. Nah, man, it's even, dude, oh my God, man, there's nowhere in the world, if he gets off, right, if Karmelo is found not guilty, there's gonna be a lot of people pissed off. His life is never gonna be the same. He know deep down in his heart what he did, and he could have did something different to make all this go away. Even though you think you did right, you can make all this go away. Look here, man, y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. I'm gonna give him a thumbs up. Matthew Cox, shout out to Matthew Cox, man. Look here, I'm gonna keep up with this case, man. I'm gonna keep up and let y'all know what's going down. Oh, one thing I wanted to say, man, first of all, shout out to all my enders. If you're an ender, meaning you made it to the end of this video, shout out to you. Miranda rights. There's a lawyer out there that's talking about this case, and he went way overboard, saying that the police officer should have read him his Miranda rights when he detained him. I never in my life heard somebody talk about Miranda rights when it's time to be detaining somebody. Never heard of detaining and Miranda rights. No. You don't even read somebody their Miranda rights when you're arresting them. No, man, this is not how this works. Learn the law, know the law, understand the law, my bad. Understand law to the point where you know how to look up law yourself. No police officers read somebody their Miranda rights before they detain them, not arrest them. He said detain, and he made that clear. And he's supposed to be a lawyer? Come on, dog. People, you gotta realize, especially this dude that's he's not a lawyer, that's helping Karmelo and his family. This dude didn't serve time. I'm sorry, man. If you served any time, I look at you a little differently, man. Y'all let me know what y'all think, man. Hey, I'm gonna get on up out of here. Y'all take it light, take it slow. Tell them Uncle Mike told you so. Peace out.